Just gonna make this video as I get ready for the day. Actually, I gotta wash my hand. I did pet the dog. There we go. So, this video, I guess I'll call The Truth and the Lies. R.E. Religion. My many experiences with it. So my underlying goal, which isn't even an ulterior motive, because I am honest and upfront about it with every religion from the start, is that by joining fill in the blank religion, I would find a marijuana-free life, a marijuana-free community, which includes a geographic region, the bigger the better, that is marijuana-free, where literally nobody does any marijuana. None of the medical scams, no smoking, etc. Not even edibles, because it mentally handicaps its users, so they do cross-contamination, as which is what happened the last time I attended the Mormon church. So all religions have failed at this. Now, with this Mormon calling me the other day when nobody else did, this really does, I appreciate it. It really does appeal to me. For a multitude of obvious reasons, which I will state a few. One is that I'm isolated. No human interaction. Jews, Judaism, or secular Jews through Citizen Cafe were happy to take my money, but not show up in person and interact with me, human interaction, right? Community support, etc. And there are Jews nearby. There are Jews in LaGrange. I found this out. There's a Jewish retirement home, for example, a rest home for Jews only, so it's got like kosher menus and things like that. Or so I read on the internet. Anyway. So, rejoining the Mormon church means I would get human interaction. Which is good. I mean, Salty, the very best friend and loyal dog, is going to die soon. I have no idea how he made it this far. But when he goes, that's going to be it. I will have nobody. So the theory is that Mormons will be my new family. And there is some truth to that. I recall that when I joined the Mormon church in Albuquerque, how they were actually, the only ones to show up in person and interact with me at home and talk to me and stuff like that. So that alone makes it worth it. The drawbacks, which I hate, is that Mormonism, like all forms of Christianity, and apparently Judaism as well, is woke as shit. All about diversity, inclusiveness, not being mean to the gays, feminism, women's rights, like all the liberal things repackaged as conservatism. It's a very hilarious psychological manipulation to me. Now, with religions, you find that there are different levels of power within the structure. And this can be observed as different levels of authority. Those within the structure who have greater authority have more power than those who have less authority. I know that with me, I skipped ahead on the power structure because of my IQ. And strangely enough, Mormons, at least the ones in Albuquerque, recognized that my intelligence could be an asset which they could utilize. Unfortunately, they also are corrupt in different ways. Excuse me real quick, I'm going to throw these away. For example, the whole reason I joined the Mormon church was I thought they would oppose legalizing marijuana, and they would create a state within a state that was marijuana free the way Christianity had failed to. I hadn't tried Judaism at that point yet. And Elders Quorum leader was talking about, oh, my dad grew cannabis, and when I was a kid, my dad had like a cannabis Christmas tree and cannabis, man. I love cannabis. And he owned a trucking company that sold carbon dioxide to cannabis growers. And I confronted him both individually and on a speech to everybody when we get like the monthly, time to talk on the podium to the whole church or whatever and everyone watching on Zoom. And I said, the whole reason I joined this faith was to get away from cannabis, and here's the fucking president pushing cannabis. And instead of, trying to claim that I was wrong or anything, he's just like, well, that's it. Thanks for the meeting. We'll have a good day, everybody. Bye. So it's like I caught him bullshitting, and he just shut it down. So it's not just the Jews who do the oy vey, shut it down. The Mormons, the Christians, the atheists, everybody does the censorship, the weaponized censorship. The, oh shit, he's calling out my bullshit, better shut him up. Right? Yeah. But to me that was hilarious. So, aside from that, there is a whole thing about Mormons in Albuquerque who are helping refugees, helping the demographic change occur. So this feeds into the anti-Semitic narrative that Jews are controlling Christians and Mormons and everything else. Like, Jews are puppeting these people, and they show a photo, or they didn't even show that. I found this actually on the LDS website on my own, of rabbis visiting with that phony prophet guy, Russell M. Nelson. Yeah. And so I asked the missionaries, why is this guy visiting the Jews? Aren't they the ones who killed Jesus? Blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh, we're just trying to do the thing with the interfaith dialogue. So that cracks me up, because that's something both Jews and Christians / Mormons are guilty of, is the faith, because Christianity is a theft of Judaism, so it has this same tenet. It means that you're not supposed to have an interfaith dialogue with people who aren't of your religion, because their religion is false. Yet, both Jews and non-Jewish religions, I don't know about Islam, but it seems like, there's diversity of thought within Islam as well. They're doing this interfaith dialogue, and to me it's more of a financial exchange. It's more about money within the religion than anything else. And so, yeah, I hate all that woke Mormonism. I hate that they're... And that was funny, because Russell M. Nelson had this talk after that. My Jewish friends tell me that Israel simply means God's will, so let God's will prevail. That's actually a theft from Rabbi Akiva. There's a story which makes me like Judaism a lot, despite Jews ruining it for me. Rabbi Akiva was traveling to some town, and they didn't have any room for him. And it was a really bad situation, because then he had to sleep outside in the dirt, or in a tent or whatever. And he had like a rooster and a lantern and a donkey. And the wind blew the lantern out. The donkey was killed by a mountain lion. And I can't remember what, but something killed the rooster. And he's like, man, what bad luck. And then when he woke up the next morning, he found the whole town had been ravaged by bandits. And so it was good that his lantern went out and his donkey and chicken were killed, because they wouldn't make any noise and the bandits wouldn't see any light to detect his presence. So he avoided detection. What was bad luck turned out to be good luck. So the Mormons are just plagiarizing and regurgitating Jewish ideas. If you translate the word Yisrael, it doesn't just mean God's will. There are so many different ways to translate that. One could be God's struggle, God's fight, or the fight against God, which is why Yaakov wrestled with the angel, they struck on the hip, got the name, because he fought against God. But on top of that, it can also have other, like Ezra means help, right? So Ezrael, Yisrael. Very similar, but slightly different. So, yeah. It's wild stuff. What's hilarious about Jews is Tikkun Olam implies that God made a mistake and the Jews have to fix it. Wait. And I asked the Jews about that in that Converting to Judaism course, and I didn't get a straight answer. Very interesting stuff. Now to the money. So here at this latest Mormon church, which I haven't attended in over a year because, they're so woke and full of shit. Oh, yeah, and you could also tell that by Salt Lake City. So this is a dynamic I found with every religion, sadly including Judaism. And I mean sadly because I thought the Jews would be better than this, than the Gentiles at this dynamic. If you want to test whether their orthodoxy matches their orthopraxy, all you have to do is look at their quote-unquote homelands. So, if the Jewish religion's orthodoxy matched its orthopraxy, if their behavior matched their beliefs, Israel wouldn't have so many gays in Tel Aviv and stuff like that, right? Well, you can apply this to Mormons as well. Salt Lake City wouldn't have so much crack and prostitutes. You can apply this to Spanish Catholics as well. New Mexico to California, etc., wouldn't have so much porn and prostitutes and legalized marijuana dispensaries if the culturally transmitted trait of religion was stronger than the genetically transmitted traits that leave certain people predisposed to such behaviors more than others, certain ethnicities. On average. There's outliers, there's variation, but on average. So, this latest Mormon church, the guy took me to this house, and it was one of his many properties. And this is when he got a phone call from another Mormon who was looking for a 75-acre plot just to have fun and hunt on. Big money in the Mormon church. I'm under the impression that the Mormon church is one of, if not the, richest church on the planet, and that it is rooted in Freemasonry. Which, I'm not against Freemasonry because I have an outsider's understanding of it. If I had more, just like Jews and everything else, what people tell me on the internet is not something I'm going to take at face value. I'm going to exercise critical thinking and skepticism. And go to the data source and see for myself and form my own opinions, not have them dictated on the internet. But it seemed like he was giving me an unspoken message without saying it, that if you join this church and you stick with us, this can be yours. You can be rich, you can have this big fancy house, you could have the hot wife, you could have all this stuff. And that is true. If I attend the Mormon church, I could possibly meet a Mormon wife. I really do won't stick to the whole no sex outside of marriage thing these days. So yeah, there is that. But to me, that just seems like a bait. Because to be a member of the church, you're supposed to tithe 1/10 of your income. And I was doing that back in the Mormon church in Albuquerque. But I was not getting the desired results. I felt like it was a loss of income, not a gain, or even a neutral. Because the whole reason I was tithing was hoping they would oppose and effectively stop marijuana as Freemasons or, whatever, as these rich and wealthy, powerful secret society religion. Now, because Mormonism is a theft and mutilation of Judaism, they have other things in common. And one of those things is the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Which is very racist. And they say that, they are the real chosen people and the true Israelites and all this hilarious stuff. But just like Orthodox Judaism, I like a lot of their morality better because they would be the ones who wouldn't have marijuana, pornography stores in their towns, marijuana dispensaries in their towns, transgender clinics in their towns, breast implant, clinical surgery clinics in their towns, etc. Prostitution rates would be low, drug overdose deaths would be low, STDs would be low. But I would be excluded because I'm not ethnically one of them. It's almost like the Haredi, but not quite. Because the fundamentalists got busted with a whole lot of pedophilia. I don't think the Haredim have. If they have, I haven't been made aware of it. I know there's been controversy with some Hasids in New York about the, mitzvah b'peh, but who am I? That's the weird thing about Judaism. I was very judgmental on that, but then when I wanted to convert to Judaism, I found myself defending it. I found myself defending Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Akiva, etc., in their thing about if a girl is raped before she's 3 years old by a, rabbi, then her hymen will grow back. So that's the brainwashing of religion, right? If that's just blowing my mind that I was... So does converting to Judaism mean that I'm supposed to lie for Jews out of loyalty and hate white people and all this other stuff? Because that just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem moral. And of course there's a whole lot of other things to it, but since I do gotta get to vacuuming and stuff and the video's already running over. One last thing is I printed out this very long meme. I paid a company to print it out. And it's like mental illness quest. And the interesting thing is church. Now I'm just going to read that. Maybe you can pray it all away talking about mental illness. You have a group of 10 people who love and care about you and will do anything to help you get better. All you have to do is go to church once a week and be a stalwart. Now that's what I tried to do with the last Mormon church, but because of their failure to oppose the things that their holy book tells them to oppose, it didn't work out. And yeah, I think that big rich house that I could have is just bait to get me to tithe. Oh yeah, if I put my money in, it's almost like a mirror image of the Jewish model, but the Jews are way cooler and more intelligent in the faith. Although, so the Tanakh has a passage in Job where they translate it as Orion, right? Can you pull the belt of Orion or something like that? It has the Pleiades, and I translated that myself, and it's not the Greek mythological pagan figures. It says something like, can you call the stars westward and open the Fool? And another hilarious aspect of how Mormonism is just a wannabe Judaism. I started to figure that out the more I started getting into it. Just like Christianity. Christianity is white people that are wannabe Jews in its origins. Of course, now they're multi-ethnic, diverse, da-da-da-da-da. So, at one point, I just started seeing how full of shit the Mormons were. Like, I couldn't ignore it. And, I just started studying Judaism online, right? Like, the little rabbinical things and all that stuff that you see on YouTube and different websites. And that fit perfectly with the Mormon curriculum. They even celebrate their own version of Pesach, or Passover, etc. All their holidays are the Jewish holidays, and they just kind of steal it and repackage it, and so forth and so on. So I recall doing a real-life troll. It was a 3-tier single-sentence troll. Because I had been studying the Tanakh and learning the Hebrew, and they gave me the priesthood, I got up to give like some kind of speech, and when I gave that speech, I had been reading more of the Hebrew of the Tanakh. And now this isn't the ancient Hebrew, but, it is the Ben Yehuda Hebrew, and there's a lot of in-depth stuff there that there isn't in the English. And so I translated the sentence, or the Hebrew, to imply that Israel is the universe and the world. And so Zionism is globalism because Zionism the borders and laws of lands don't apply to Zionists because their laws and borders come from Hashem, from God. So, ergo, the laws of the people of the Gentiles don't apply to them, the Goyim. And I got up on the podium in front of the whole congregation. And I gave a little speech, and I simply said, that Eretz Yisrael means that true Israel knows no borders. Now, there's 3 levels to this troll, 3 layers of interpretation. The first layer is that the Mormons, who are so dumb, it's interesting to stand on a podium and spoon feed a whole crowd of gullible, bright-eyed morons, like sheep right out of your hand. They were like, yeah, Israel knows no borders. We're Israel. That means more African and Indian and Arab immigrants for New Mexico and America. Boo! Like a bunch of retards. Now, above them on the intelligence scale is the white supremacists who say, yeah, open borders for Israel, flood Israel with ethnic diversity and multiculturalism. The third level is the one I first mentioned. That means that Israel will dominate the globe in accordance with Daniel's dream and prophecy. So to me, this was quite funny because this means that even the richest and most powerful churches are still subjugated by the Jews because they have stolen the Jews' religion. So they're still subordinate. And I'd imagine there's power fluctuations and things change and turn over time, but that is the dynamic. They are the puppets. They're like middle tier. Like you could argue the Pope is a puppeteer being puppeted himself. Same with Russell M. Nelson. But I definitely do need to get out of this house and take a break from the roommate, etc. So I think I'm going to go with it. I think I'm going to return to the Mormon church. Even though... Oh, and another weird thing. And this is an experience I've had before. I read a little bit of the Book of Mormon last night. I can't take it seriously. I've read the whole thing before. It's so full of shit. But it caused me to not masturbate or look at, scantily clad women dancing seductively, etc. So it does... I assume that's a placebo effect. I also recall feeling this like white golden energy light, very Rosicrucian-ish. So there is that to it. Just like Judaism. Judaism was actually more powerful in that energy that I could feel, the psychic energy. I recall when I electrocuted myself that I felt this spiritual guardian, and it was like this Spanish Catholic knight. And so I started to have this idea that there's like spiritual energy that every family and lineage has over centuries and centuries, and it creates what people could call like ghosts or ethereal beings, right, etc. And when I went into that thought, I saw everyone as having these white souls, like the souls are made of white flame, be they Hindu or Buddhist or atheist or Muslim or Christian or, whatever, that every human has a soul. And, But it's a toss-up, right? Holding my standards to who I associate with definitely keeps me isolated. And I don't think the prolonged isolation is healthy, but associating with the wrong people is even more destructive. An interesting decision to make. And plus, I don't think it's fair to me to have to deal with this shit. Like living here, at least it's marijuana free inside the house. I do suspect the other roommate maybe smokes it once in a while, but mostly it's marijuana free. I don't think he does, but maybe he does. Anyway, I don't think it's fair to me, like yesterday, that I lost so much time because my landlord / roommate is disabled and therefore was just a stupid, selfish piece of shit who forced me to lose over an hour that I could have been studying and doing violin, thus falling behind on my school, etc. And if anyone were to help me change my situation, like showing up here to help with these sort of projects, or maybe finding me somewhere else to live that's also drug-free, It could be the Mormons. That could be a possibility. So, I mean, that alone is worth it, but there's no such thing as a perfect existence. Even with the change in situation, there would still be shitty things. I kind of hope to stay here, but have interaction with people who don't do drugs at least. First time I attended a local Mormon church, there was very, very overweight black teenagers who stink like marijuana. And the Mormon church, of course, is like, yeah, blah. Black Lives Matter. Yeah, they have a painting of white Jesus hugging a black baby. No way are they being puppeted by the same people who puppet Black Lives Matter. No way. Final thoughts and observations. I know this video is going a bit long. I'm probably going to have to cut the bit rate down so it's easier to upload, less file size. Mormonism, Freemasonry, Christianity, Catholicism are just European infatuations and imitations of Judaism, especially Puritanism and Freemasonry. But Freemasonry goes into other stuff too, I think. Egyptian mythology and things like that. Anyway, right now I'm experiencing a spike in testosterone because yesterday I did the high intensity training, a lot of push-ups, a lot of upper body stuff. And this is causing me to experience more impulse towards violence against my landlord for his actions affecting me in such a negative way, and him being mentally incapable of even being aware that the shitty things he does have a negative impact on others. Right? Purely self-centered. I assume that's the medication as well as his, inbred genetics causing this sort of cognitive decline. If I were to work in a rest home and this was my patient, it would require a lot of patience because these people do some shitty things, not on purpose. I'm guessing he has early onset dementia. He's displaying other symptoms like memory disrupted functions, dysfunction in memory. For example, there was a hard spot on the rug, which he figured out 2 months ago was caused by Loctite being dropped on the carpet. And then day before yesterday, he asked, what was that hard spot on the rug? That's weird. I'm like, you don't remember that? You don't remember figuring that out? And there's other things. So both short-term and long-term memory are disrupted. Nonetheless, this testosterone increase, when I'm out there, I have the desire to just start punching him in the head. And I not only see it, I feel it. I feel myself doing it. I can feel his head against my fist in my mind. So because government won't intervene, because secularists won't intervene, etc., the Mormons might hopefully help with that and just get me out of this house. It might be a cabin fever thing, even for a little while, just to get a break and talk to somebody else in real life besides the same two people every day for over a year. So from a secular applied science perspective, it makes sense.